This is Caitlin.
And this is Mitchell.
And this is the wedding journey. This week is a continuation of last week.
Yep, we're doing exactly what we did last week. We're going to finish out the list of controversial wedding topics.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll finish it out, man. There are like 28 here, and we only
Maybe
got
we
through 8
won't
last
finish
year.
it
last time, not last
Yep.
year. But basically, I mean, this is just our opinion. And like we said last week, like our opinion, I think a lot of the time just like aims to protect the bride and groom opinion.
Yep.
Like
we aim to reflect what our bride and grooms want individually.
Yep.
So our opinion can change depending on who we're serving.
Yeah, but we have some general opinions based on like what we've been doing and how long we've been doing this. And I just feel like for the most part, you're probably going to get the vibe that we want what's best for the bride and groom, but also
We also have our own opinions based on having been married and having siblings who've gotten married.
Having been through the wedding journey ourselves and knowing people who have been through it, like family members, like we just have strong opinions. So if you like opinions, this is the episode for you.
So let's dive into it. What's first, Caitlin?
So the first one is, remember that as a guest, it's not your day. If you don't like the rules of the wedding set by the bride and groom, then don't go. But if you accept the invite, then follow the rules. If it's a no kids wedding, don't ask to bring your kids. If it's an outdoor wedding and you don't like the heat, bring a fan. If the bride and groom are only serving barbecue and you don't like it, eat before. A wedding invite is an invitation, not a summons.
I 100% agree. A bride and groom are throwing their wedding. They're basically throwing a party they're throwing the party that they want to throw.
Yep.
And that's not always going to be what the guests want or would have chosen for themselves, but that's okay. It's their party, and I 100% agree with this take.
100%.
Yeah.
I think that there's like for some reason this is something that's like lost in translation a lot of the time, where people think that because they're going, they deserve something out of it. And it's like, no,
like they're owed something.
Yeah. This is a wedding experience for the bride and groom. They are getting married. They want you to celebrate them. And if you don't like the way that they're choosing to celebrate, you don't have to go.
Yep.
That's the thing. You can celebrate from afar for them. You can still love them at a distance. You don't have to go if you disagree.
Yeah.
Like if it is hot and you just cannot stand the heat and you don't like dressing up, the monkey suit, the tie, like if you don't like that stuff and you're going to complain about it, your general vibe will not be missed. Like you as a person probably will be.
Right.
But the general feeling of people complaining and having issues with what the bride and groom want on their wedding day, not something that is missed if it's not there.
The only part I kind of get is I can see how it might be insulting if you have like a niece or a nephew to the bride and they are not allowed to be at the wedding. How it could be like, well, you don't want part of your family there. And I think that situation just kind of comes down to we've definitely seen that kids can definitely get in the way sometimes during a wedding, like during the first dance they can be running around.
And
it's every wedding that has kids, the kids are doing something.
They have their own agenda.
Yeah. And that's fine because they're kids, but some people don't want that. And I think you have to respect that some people want a more, for lack of a better term, classy event.
Yeah.
And
They
that's okay.
They want predictability.
Yep.
Kids bring a little bit of an unpredictable, environment shift. Like small children generally are running around for a little bit.
Yep.
And that's to be expected.
Yep.
They were
They're
asked to sit through a ceremony, and they're trying to entertain themselves. Like there's going to be an element of like unpredictable craziness that comes with kiddos at a wedding, and that's okay if you want that. Like there are plenty of brides and grooms who want all their family's kids, and those are great when you can embrace the environment. But if the couple specifically has asked for that environment to not be a part of their wedding day, you forcing a kid on them is not going to make it okay. Like they're going to have a bad time because you're forcing them. Or if you try to make them feel bad about it, like there are two different energies between having kids at a wedding, not having kids at a wedding. And you can't make somebody feel bad for wanting one or the other. If you wanted an all adults kind of experience and the bride and groom have kids, like, I don't know, go to a bar afterwards and like hang out with just only adults. I don't know. Like it just, maybe invite your friends. I don't know. It bothers me because I feel like a lot of our brides and grooms too are like, we were thinking about not having kids, but we're afraid of upsetting people.
It seems like a lot of people want it, but are afraid of upsetting people.
Yeah.
And to that, I say, just do it. It'll be fine. But there is a chance that people who have kids might not come.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if they can't find a sitter, like there's potential that they won't come.
There's added expense if you're not allowed to bring your kids with you. Yeah.
So be aware of that. But we're always in support of bride and groom doing exactly what they want.
Yeah.
So
we agree with that hot take. The next one. Bachelor and bachelorette trips need to die. They're unnecessary, so expensive, and usually not very fun, especially when you're going to a city where every day is packed full of activities. It's exhausting. A beach trip where you have some plans but also have some flexibility, and it's established that it's entirely optional without shaming anyone who can't make it, is fine. But for the love of God, stop going to Nashville for your bachelorette trip.
So I don't think we have a lot of experience with this.
I
because we don't usually see that part of it. While I do understand, like, I can see how a vacation might be fun, but also requiring people to go on that little vacation with you could be taxing on their wallets, especially if you're not all of the same financial situation. Like, that can be really hard if for some reason one of your friends is broke and they're self-conscious about it, or because of that they haven't told anybody and they can't actually afford it. Forcing them to do that is not very cool. So I get the appeal, but I think by looking at it through that lens, I would agree here that maybe that's not the best thing to do. Maybe just like a casual trip, come if you can, would be the better thing to do. But we are of the demographic where we just have a little party. Like, I took my brother out to dinner. I took all his friends out to dinner, and then we stayed the night at an Airbnb playing drinking games all night.
Within an hour of our house.
Within an hour of our house. And that was kind of the whole thing. And that was amazing. So I think the whole night probably ended up costing between everybody like $1,000. It wasn't bad.
Yeah, and there were like, what, 8 guys?
8 guys
there. And
we only drank half the beer I bought because I think the estimates I got were from their high school days, and they are all a little bit older now, so they didn't drink as much.
we looked like alcoholics going through Costco though.
Yeah, like, I had to carry it 2 blocks downtown. I had to carry it through 2 blocks downtown, just cases and cases of beer.
Yeah, through a bar
to
get up to
because
the Airbnb
was on top of a bar, which was amazing for a bachelor party because no one's going to sleep.
Yeah.
And then when you do, you're like drunk, so the noise doesn't matter. But then also the people below you don't care about the noise because the bar's open till 4.
Yep. Yeah.
So that was cool.
That is, I think, how, in my opinion, how a bachelorette party.
Yeah, just like one fun night.
Yeah,
like a trip seems like a lot.
Because we both really struggle with the concept of like a trip, because that's not vacation for us, that's work.
Yeah.
And it's not because it always like encompasses work somehow, like with pictures or whatever, but it's just we have a really hard time just relaxing. We have a really hard time with it, and we feel not relaxed when we're not at home. So
yeah, especially if there's a lot of planning that goes into the trip.
Yeah. Yep. So I think for bachelor or bachelorette party, for me specifically, I would have a really hard time going if my friends were making it super extra, and like, because I just have a hard time planning with other adults. Like I have a hard time with that. I'm really neurotic, and plans stress me out. I do a lot better on my own schedule and everything, but to have other adults that you're planning with, that's super hard.
Mm-hmm. So we tried to do that once, and just no one was on the same page, and we couldn't get anyone on the same page. It was like the most frustrating experience.
Yep, super hard. And I mean, to be fair, I've been to one bachelorette party, and it was 2. I've been to 2. One was in Amish country. That was for my sister. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And it was about as exciting as you'd imagine Amish country.
So super exciting.
Had breakfast.
Obviously.
Had breakfast. We
visited the puppy mills.
I want to start crying. Yeah, looked at some yarn, like antiqued a little bit.
Basically, what you would expect from Amish country.
Bought like $100.
Did you guys go to Dirk Dutchman when you were there?
Duh.
Okay,
what
good.
else is there?
That's like the one restaurant I haven't been in a long time that I need to go back to.
Yeah, but that was, and my sister, the bride, planned the whole thing. Like she was
planned it herself. Well, her maid of honor was like,
and then my mom and my
school.
other sister, who's younger than her, they planned. So they all 3 like kind of took the reins together. But
that's kind of a trend in your family. Maid of honors for who's maid of?
Brian was mine. My older sister was my maid of honor. I was her maid of honor.
Okay, yeah, you were her maid of honor, and then because you were like so young, you didn't you couldn't plan
I assume
anything.
I'll be Lily's. Shout out to you, Lily, one day when you get married. But I'd be surprised if it wasn't David. Honestly, if Lily
that would surprise me. It would be the one. Lily would be the one with David on the other side. Yeah,
man of honor. Okay, but I've been to 2, and one was to Amish country. Like moms were there. Like her future mother-in-law was there. It was very chill. I think we had 1 bottle of wine between all like 6 of us. Maybe. I don't even know if there was wine actually. No, there was. Haley brought one. But then the other one was for my best friend from college, and it was the same thing. Moms, sisters, like the bridesmaids, we all went to dinner, and then we like, not everybody stayed, and then we just like hung out in her apartment and just like sat and talked. That was it. Like it was very chill. Super, super chill. And it was like not what I would envision. It was just, I think, what people do when they have like friends, and not what I think people do like as like a typical bachelorette party. Like your experience is a little bit closer, but when we got married, we didn't have bachelorette parties because we were children. We were kids. But the idea of like planning was so foreign to us. We were trying to plan a wedding at 21. Like we didn't know.
Yeah.
But I think that they can be fine. Like you don't need to get rid of them, but you also don't need to make them like trips to Nashville or to the Keys or
that
something
seems like
crazy.
a lot, because even when I was asking my brother's groomsmen for money, like it felt like a lot to ask of them to pay for certain aspects of it, like in like of their share.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine asking someone to pay for their share of a trip to a different state for a couple of days. Like I wouldn't be able to plan something like that.
Yep, like asking that much of people, just because we have such a hard time with like planning anyway. Like that's such stress on us. So to ask other people to do something that might be a little bit on the stressful side, or what we think is stressful, that'd be really hard. But I could see why you would want to do it. Like, it's a party with your friends. Like,
right.
I don't know why you would shame anybody for wanting to do that. But
I think like the simple aspect of party with your friends, I think everyone would be on board with. It's you kind of have to cater a trip like that to the poorest person. Yeah. And you don't always know who that is, and you don't know how much poorer they are, and it's more of a money thing. You're asking a lot. You could be asking a lot, and you don't really know how much you're asking of each person.
I think something that we haven't really read into here, but that's like important, is the fact that they said establish that it's entirely optional without shaming anyone who can't make it. Okay, why are we inviting people to be a part of our wedding party if we're not going to be good enough friends to be okay with them being
to like be understanding when they can't afford a trip?
Why are we friends with people
like
who are shaming us for not being able to make it to a bachelorette party?
I don't know. I think some people are friends with people that aren't genuine.
I cannot believe that. I
would never. I couldn't.
Ooh, we should do a hot take, like
just
an
maybe
us
I
edition.
don't have any friends.
We should do like an us edition next time. Like literally, this made me think of. I've seen so many people talk about, who was right, the bride or the bridesmaid, and it's like the bride asks the bridesmaid to buy and wear a dress that she doesn't like. Like I feel like I've got so many opinions about stuff that I don't know if we're gonna hit, but
so it's like almost like Am I the Asshole? Type content. People love that.
Yeah, should we do that next?
I think so. Maybe we should find some Am I the Asshole wedding stuff.
Okay, write that down. That literally does nothing for us, Mitchell. I will text you. Okay, so we've talked a lot about bachelorette parties. I feel like we almost like went off on like a weird tangent about what we did and whatever. But I just feel like the general vibe is like, don't expect people to be a part of it.
Yep.
Like, not everybody can afford it. Not everybody can afford the time, and not everybody can afford the stress. But also, like, don't feel like you got to make it something huge. You don't have to let the tradition die. No. But don't feel like you have to make it some massive trip to Nashville or something.
All right, what's next?
All right, the next one. The tradition of fathers or male family members giving the bride away is disgusting. It's an archaic, misogynistic, ridiculous practice that treats women like property. Pair that with the ridiculous purity ideas that are already twisted up in the father-daughter relationship, and it's all garbage. Boo. I would say this person's got some
I feel like they have probably some issues themselves. I feel like that's generalizing and exaggerating a little bit.
Yeah.
To me, like, I don't exactly know the origin, but to me it's always just been like family support, and in my opinion, I think it should be both parents.
Yeah. Yep. I love
walking up and giving away, because you're giving away your kid.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I guess the terminology of giving away can seem problematic, but
I don't know. And I think couples who don't have the relationship with dad, or have a relationship with a couple different like dads, like maybe dad, stepdad, that can be a little bit tricky for them.
Yeah.
But also I think everything that we talk about is like, don't feel like you have to. If you don't vibe with it, don't feel like you have to. But I would defend this stance a little bit, like it's the idea of somebody giving somebody away, father, male figure, because a lot of the women, I would say a majority of women that we see as brides have a beautiful relationship with their dad.
Yeah.
And like a lot of them want to do like even a first look with dad. And okay, like you want to get rid of the archaic, misogynistic, ridiculous practice. But if somebody has a relationship with their dad that's just precious, why would you make them feel bad about it being misogynistic? My dad gave me away, and my dad knows I'm a strong, independent woman.
Yeah, right.
And I
don't think anyone's questioning that.
No,
nobody.
I don't know.
I think it just shows like a little bit of like respect, like mutual respect for dad, and then respect for his daughter and the person she's marrying. Like, I don't know. Yeah. I think you can definitely twist it in a way like this person did, but I don't think anyone sees it like that anymore.
Yeah. And I think if you are like, I kind of get what they're saying, like maybe I won't have my dad walk me down the aisle, but it kind of like makes me sad to not have that. Like, have mom also walk you down the aisle.
Yeah, just make it a group thing. Like, you're just show, basically at that point you're just showing family the family is showing support of you marrying this person you're going to marry, and there's nothing wrong with that.
And for our couples who don't have dad, or like couples who have lost parents, like a lot of times somebody else will walk them down the aisle, and I think it's just support.
Family support.
Yep. It's not the whole
tradition is dad does it, but what it is really now is just family showing support of what she's doing.
Yeah. I think there are plenty of other things to be upset about than having somebody's dad walk them down the aisle.
And then when he gets to the front, they always say her mother and I.
Yeah.
Like, it's not dad giving away.
Yeah. And I think that
it's still okay. I feel like the part that's hard to shake is the treating women like property, like giving away. The term giving away feels like she is mine, now she's yours. I don't really have a way.
But I think that a lot of times what people see that as now is like, I'm her dad and I protect her.
Yeah.
And now I'm giving that job to you.
And not she's my way to get a new batch of livestock.
Most of our like couples live outside of the home, and they don't live with their parents anymore. So it's not like dad actually sees her as property or whatever. I think it's just like, it's been my job to be her protector. And now you're her protector, which if you have a problem with men being protectors, like, okay, like that's fine.
I feel like we're catering to a smaller and smaller group of people.
But I just
layer.
I don't know. I just don't see how you could have a huge issue with, like, you could have a hard time swinging how people are, like the phrasing you give them away. But I would argue.
Or even, you could even say it was dad's job to support, like, just like be there for her. And now it's someone else's job.
Yeah.
Like,
and if you specifically don't have that relationship with your dad where he's been the protector or the guardian or whatever, but your mom has, or your sister has, or your brother has, or your grandma has, like, have that person walk you down the aisle.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to make it something different, you have total freedom to do that. Like, it's literally your wedding day. But if somebody has their dad walk them down the aisle, it's not because it's not always, I'm sure. Maybe sometimes it's because their dad is actually getting some goats out of it or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, I think that I don't know.
I don't know.
That
line of thinking is of everything as a perversion, or everything is because it's based on something that was kind of problematic in an era where it wasn't, like, things were different, but just everything that's based on something like that, like, that rabbit hole goes so deep. Like, you could say Christmas is a bad holiday because it's based on the Roman Saturnalia, whatever it is. But I don't know. Everything's based on something bad because the world used to be bad. Yeah. And you can't just throw everything away.
Or make people feel bad about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say.
That's all I got to say.
That was actually kind of a lot to say, so.
All right.
What's next?
So the next one. Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm wrapped up in cords here. The next one, you should be able to do whatever you want for your special day.
Yes.
Yes,
I agree.
Support this.
We don't say anything else. I agree.
Destination, middle of the week, no kids, etc. Without the bride, groom, or guests getting offended. I got married on a Friday. A ton of people told me, well, not everyone can take off work, so that's rude. I told them I'm giving everyone plenty of notice to take time off. It's okay if it's important to them, or if it's not. We're still friends/family. I'm not going to change my wedding for them, and they don't have to adjust their lives for me. No drama came from me or my husband, but other people always had too many opinions over what a ceremony should be instead of just two people joining together.
I 100% agree. If you're okay with people not attending weddings.
Yep.
If you're okay with people not attending your wedding, do whatever you want. Yep. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yep. And a Friday is not super weird. Like, we've seen some Thursdays, we've heard of some Monday, Tuesdays. Like,
I think if you're having a Thursday wedding and you expect people to fly out for you, then you're like, that's a little unreasonable.
But if you're not problematic and you're like, I understand if you can't come. I understand that we're not always going to adjust our lives for each other. Like, I'm having on a Friday because that's what makes sense for me. I'm not adjusting that for you. And if you don't want to fly out for this because you can't get that Friday off, like, or because you don't want to take that Friday off, like, that's understandable. I think if we all just have a mutual respect for the fact that some people are going to have things that happen and we're not all each other's 110 like top priority, like, I think that's fine. Yeah.
You have to be chill in your mindset if you're going to take an approach like that. Like, you have to be okay with people not liking it or not coming.
Yeah. And this is other soapbox. People might not be able to show up on a Friday because they're working. So if you have your wedding late on Friday, like a ceremony at like 5:30 or 6 or something, then maybe more people can come, but you're going to struggle with guests. Yeah. If you have your wedding on a Saturday, I feel like you're going to see the most guest count, which is why people have their weddings on Saturdays. And if you have your wedding on a Sunday, people are going to leave a little early because they have work on Monday. Like,
they might not drink so much.
It's the reality of the situation. And you just, whatever you do, you're going to have to be okay with probably giving a little bit, because Saturdays are also going to be the most expensive wedding dates. Right. So you're giving a little bit to get the most people there to stay the longest. But I don't know, if budget is more important to you and you're not necessarily concerned with everybody staying till midnight and partying hard, or you're okay with having your ceremony a little later in the day on a Friday, like, then I think you can definitely be lenient with it. But yeah,
if you're going to be particular about what your wedding is, have it on a Saturday.
Have it on a Saturday. But
if you are chill, you don't care, do whatever you want.
Do whatever.
You can do whatever you want, but you have to be okay with what that brings.
Yep. 100%.
Simple as that.
All right, so
what's the next one? Ooh.
Okay.
What is it?
Dear bride. Oh man, I don't even want to read it. This person makes me mad. Dear bride, it's not your day. You're not a spoiled 5-year-old having a birthday party. You're celebrating your love with your partner, your family, and your friends. None of them should be afraid of stealing your thunder. They should all be allowed to be themselves, wear what makes them comfortable, spend what they... I'm sorry, it just cut me off. Spend only what they want to and enjoy the day. If someone announces their pregnancy or gets engaged at my wedding, that would only make my day more special and filled with love.
So the last part, I don't get that. I don't understand why anyone would want to do that.
Yeah.
I don't even understand why you would want to. I mean, I get that everyone's there, but half the people there you probably don't even know. Like, why would you?
Why would you want to announce your pregnancy to like 200 people that you only know
half of them?
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know, man.
Dear bride, it's not your day. You're not a spoiled 5-year-old having a birthday party.
Sorry, who paid for it? Probably the bride and the people really close to her, like maybe
it
her parents
actually
and his parents.
is her day.
Yeah,
like
it actually is. That's like going over. It's like someone hosting a party, you going over there and be like, it's actually not your party, and you unplug their speakers and plug in your own.
Yeah, like okay.
Music.
You're celebrating your love with your partner, your family, and your friends. Okay, yes. You, as the writer of this, the dear bride entitleistic perspective, you are also a guest. You are a guest. Do you know what that freaking means?
Yeah.
That means that you were invited to celebrate the love between these two. And if you don't like the spoiled birthday party vibe that you think that the bride has, don't freaking go. You don't have to go. That's the thing.
Nope.
If you don't want to, don't go. This literally blows my mind that somebody could have this perspective. So you see that it's a celebration of their love with the people that they've invited. You see that. Okay, how then are you not also seeing that it's about them? Mm-hmm. It is literally their day.
It is.
It is a day about them.
And if you would be okay with it, don't force that on other people. Don't force other people to be okay with something you are. You're okay with something that's a little borderline. Like that's not the popular opinion.
Yeah. If you know this is a controversial opinion because you submitted it to this like article and you know it's a controversial opinion, then don't expect everyone to hold the same opinion as you. You can have a wedding like that. Yeah. And then maybe in the invitation, just be like, also please announce your pregnancies and get engaged at my wedding. Like if you have that opinion, cool.
This reminds me of the one wedding we had at the State House where the best man gave up in a speech and said, I don't know if they were married. My wife and I are expecting. And he took a long pause, about this long. Some people cheered, and he said, to have a great time at the party tonight, and everyone laughed. Well, I made a reel out of that, and I used the actual reactions during the moment, and a lot of the family were just like straight-faced, like, is this really happening? Like, what is going on?
His mom specifically.
And she was like super bubbly, super friendly, super happy all day. But when he started making that joke, she was like, Because
most people don't think it's appropriate.
No.
It's about their love. Why would you make it about your comfort? If you don't have the money to spend on a gift or something, don't feel like you have to give them a gift. Like, I have an opinion on that too. But like, if you want to show up and just do the best job you can supporting their love and their relationship, then do that. But don't make people feel bad for them wanting the day to be about themselves.
Yep.
That's quite literally why we're all here. We're all here gathered under one roof, having a really expensive meal because these two people just got married. And if you have a hard time with the concept of the day being about them, go somewhere else.
Yep, I agree.
Throw your own party for yourself. Do that. Like,
Side note, if you're going to make a joke that is kind of borderline, like the one I've just mentioned, expect people to come up to you all night, not understanding that it was a joke, because that's what happened to him. People were congratulating him all night on the pregnancy. Mostly old people, but like some people didn't catch that it was a joke. So be ready for that.
Yeah, that was funny. There were some older people. At the end of the night, we were like leaving. We're like, hey man, we just want to let you know that was the best joke ever. And he was like, I still have people coming up and congratulating me. And they're probably all collectively over the age of like 60 who are like congratulating him. But it's so funny. All right. Next one. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Most of the traditions, let me start over. Most of the traditions and games are tacky. Don't throw the bouquet, don't throw the garter, don't take each other's shoes off and play the who's more likely game. You're all grown adults. We literally do not care. I love attending my friends' weddings and have been in several, but these are the things that give me the biggest cringe.
This person sounds like a Scrooge. What's your issue with fun?
Okay.
Why can't we play games?
From a cringe perspective, I see it. It's like the two, this is going to sound horrible, and you do what you want to do. Mm-hmm. But we have witnessed the two 19-year-olds getting married or two 18-year-olds getting married, and nobody's drinking because they're both underage, so their family and friends that come are not going to drink. And then they play the shoe game, and it's like quiet, and the DJ doesn't quite understand that they're young too, so they're like awkward kinds of questions, and as like a guest it's hard to appreciate. I just have witnessed the shoe game thing being a little awkward a couple times. It's like especially when people are really sober. I think when people are drunk, anything's a good time.
Some of these games are cringe when most of the people at the wedding aren't into it.
Yep.
Like we had one bouquet toss where only 2 people came out.
We did.
And that was a little like, oof, probably should have just like not done that.
Yeah.
But and if no one's laughing at the shoe game, then it's a little cringe. But I think if everyone's having a good time, like what's the issue?
Yeah, I think it's a know your audience kind of thing. Yeah. Like it's only cringy, I guess you're right, if there are people who, like if the majority of the people aren't having a good time. But we actually had a wedding last year where the couple made t-shirts out of their engagement pictures, and they did t-shirt tosses instead of garter and bouquet. And I lived for that. I was about to get in there and throw some elbows.
Have fun with it.
Yeah, that was the coolest thing. Not cringy. That was so fun.
There is one that is cringy no matter what.
Dude, okay.
It is
the reverse garter toss.
The reverse garter toss, because if you have a reverse garter toss at your wedding, there's like in my experience, there's a 99% chance that this situation plays out. A young girl is allowed to catch the bouquet because she's
not married. She's a kid.
It's fun. It's fun to let a young girl catch the bouquet, but men get really competitive, and the tallest man will catch the garter, or the most athletic, and that usually ends up being
the least amount of shame.
Yeah, the one that usually ends up being a man that's over 18.
Yeah.
And so you have this possibly 12-year-old girl and this adult man that has to put the garter on him. And
okay, so really quick,
I hate it.
Mitchell, I think we need to explain what a reverse garter toss is for people who don't know. So obviously you toss the bouquet, a girl gets the bouquet.
Yep.
You toss the garter, a guy gets the garter. And then what happens for the reverse garter toss is the girl who caught the bouquet sits in a chair, and the guy who has the garter, who caught the garter, puts it on the girl.
Yep.
And there was like this one DJ who said for the amount of inches above her knee, that's how many decades the couple is going to be together. So you have to put it up high on the girl's leg, which is the thought. So that's why like a 12-year-old girl and like a 35, 40-year-old man makes it a little uncomfortable for any people. The only time it was not uncomfortable was a woman who caught it. Her wife pushed her out there, actually. I don't think she was single. I don't think she was single. And then the bride's brother, and he was a dork in like the
he
best
was very
way.
Awkward. That one was
amazing. Good. And he put it on with his teeth.
Yeah, well, she was wearing pants too, which is half the cringe, is because it's a 12-year-old girl wearing a dress, but this was an adult woman who was wearing pants, so it was just funny. And
that was funny. But in 900% of the other times that happen, it is uncomfortable for everyone. Yeah,
and you just hope that the guy who caught it is classy enough to like just put it on her foot and not be into it.
Or to just like reject it entirely.
Yep.
Like the only people who are into that, except for at the wedding where it was the woman and the guy, but in like most situations, the only people who are going to be into it are the guys who brought like the 7-Eleven styrofoam cups. Like those are the people who are into it. Nobody who generally has a good time with everything else. Like it's the guy who was also watching football on his phone earlier. Like that guy's into it because it's super uncomfortable.
That one needs to die.
Oh man, that
one's cringe. I agree with that one. I think the shoe game can be fun. It can be cringe. I think there's nothing wrong with the bouquet toss. I think depending on who you are and your guests, I think the garter toss can be kind of funny.
It depends. If you're gonna have a fun time doing it, do it.
Yeah, but if you don't want to do it, then don't do it. Because
be forced to do it.
When the bride and groom don't want to do things like that, that is a little
one thing that can also be tacky as a game, or can be considered tacky, is the dollar dash, or like a money run.
Yeah, where my dad took a long time for my parents to convince us to do that one, because I was like, I don't want to. We did a dollar dance. For money. A dance.
Yep,
which I feel like is the same thing.
It's not the same thing. I feel like there's a different energy in the room when people are paying money to come dance with you, tell you congratulations. It's sweet. It's intimate. You have like a moment with each person that wants to dance with you. I feel like that, although could be considered tacky, is fine. I feel like that's way more fine than people sprinting around grabbing money out of people's hands. That's so impersonal. That's so like, give me the last dollar in your wallet. Like if you want to do it, fine. We've had brides and grooms that have done it, and it's been hilarious. Like it's been absolutely hilarious. I would have a hard time doing it.
All of your guests have to be into it, because if your guests aren't into it, it's
a lot of people waiting to run around, and
nothing happening. That's a risky one. Any dollar dance, dollar dash, that's risky.
Oh, we had a dollar dance one time, right? Where they were like, all right, so if you want to dance with the bride and groom, you gotta pay money, and then you can like just walk up and dance with them. And they just like, they were just standing there kind of by themselves. Yeah. Nobody really danced with them.
You have to understand that one's a little risky. If your family is pushing you into it, like my dad said, I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. It feels like asking for money, and asking for money is not something I can really do.
Yep.
But he said, all of my family done it. It's good. So I knew that.
All of my family done it.
Oh, he said, everyone in our family has done it. It's like kind of a tradition. You have to do it. And I said, in my mind, I was like, okay, so at least my side of the wedding will probably all want to do this. So it's not going to be nobody.
They did.
So yeah. And it did. That happened. I think Caitlin's side didn't really understand what was happening.
They're Nazarenes.
They didn't dance.
They don't really dance. That's all right. That's all right. We'll get them next time.
I heard a joke. This one's a little borderline, and maybe we'll cut it out. But remember, someone made a joke when we weren't going to school. They said, why do Nazarenes not like sex? Because it leads to dancing.
I think that was my dad that told us that.
It was actually Cookie Swag.
It was Cookie Swag. Okay, well, it sounds like a joke my dad would say.
Yeah. It's like, I don't understand the problem with dancing, but we'll move on.
Just check the explicit box on this one. All right, so next one. Beyond the legal documents, I think most of the wedding industry is a scam. Diamond rings are a marketing ploy. Bridesmaids shouldn't have to pay for an expensive dress that they don't get to pick out. And wedding costs are marked up for no other reason than businesses knowing they can get away with it. Mm-hmm. And can we talk about how misogynistic the traditions are? The white dress representing virginity, the dad giving away the bride, etc. Mm-hmm. As someone who's getting married soon, all I want is the paperwork and a small party with 20 people. I can be on board with the small party with 20 people.
Oh, yeah, 100% I vibe with that. I think there's a couple things there. Like the white dress traditionally obviously represented purity, but now I think it's just no one ever wears a full-length white gown.
That's the way that you represent yourself.
And so that's how you separate the day. It's like special, and you know it's your wedding because you're wearing a white dress.
Yeah.
I don't think
it says bridal. Like that's what it says. And if you don't want to wear white, don't wear white. Don't feel like you have to. A lot of like off-whites or champagnes or like if you want to wear something like blue or black, like we've had a bride wear black.
Black's my personal favorite.
Do it. Do that. But also, I don't feel like you have to, like, I don't think a lot of our brides, I think, and grooms, sometimes they live together beforehand.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that if white actually represented purity and that was a hard rule, that almost no one would be wearing white.
Which is fine.
Which is fine. But and that's the way things are now.
I agree with this a little bit. The wedding industry is a scam.
Yeah.
I
mean, with that being said, what we do for our couples is priced fairly.
Yep.
We do a lot of work. There's a lot that goes into weddings that doesn't go into other things. And our event coverage is just as expensive as our wedding coverage. Maybe a little bit less because there's not quite as much planning.
There's a lot less planning in like we had like a vendor friend ask us to photograph like an Easter bunny event. And there would be almost no planning that goes into this Easter bunny event space opening. Like it'd be just like candid coverage, a lot of candid coverage, no direction, and that is like showing up with a camera and knowing how to use your camera. And in that way it would be less expensive. But there are a million reasons why wedding industry professionals charge what they charge. I do think that there are some people who have figured out they can charge a lot and they don't do a good job. There was a planner, I'm gonna straight up call her out, I'm not really, but there was a planner who day of coordination charged, it was like just over $1,000 for day of coordination. Usually there's some type on her website. It said that she does vendor coordination.
Yeah, they all say that.
The week of. She's like, I'm going to reach out to your vendors the week of and let them know what's going on and talk through planning with them. I met her like 4 hours into the wedding day. She didn't introduce herself to me. I had to introduce myself to her. She didn't reach out to me beforehand. She didn't, like, she had my timeline on a clipboard. Like, I literally don't understand.
I don't know what vendors they're communicating with. The first vendor you should communicate with, I feel like, is the person who's going to be running the day in their absence.
Yep.
Or even in lieu of them.
Yep. It was, I literally couldn't have picked her up out of a crowd until I was like, are you the planner today? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, hi, I'm Caitlin. I am the couple's photographer today. Like, I just like had to introduce myself. And then it seemed like nothing to do with me, which I understand. But if you're busy, like you don't want to like sit and talk with other vendors. Right. But she wasn't. She like stood at the bar and talked with her assistant most of the day.
I think this is the wedding I didn't actually go to.
That's true. You weren't there. I just, that wedding specifically was incredibly frustrating. And to know that she charged them $1,000 to not even do what she said she was going to do, which was plan with the vendors. Like she did not talk to me. I had to go talk to her and she was not interested in, I wanted to make sure the timeline was right. And that's something that we could have that wedding day was like 3 hours behind. The bride was getting in her dress maybe 15 minutes before the ceremony, which it was supposed to be 2 hours before. We had to cut out first looks. We had to cut out portraits beforehand because we didn't have time because the schedule was messed up. And you know what would have happened if the coordinator had reached out to the vendors the week of the wedding? It wouldn't have been as messed up. Like, I just truly believe if she'd have actually done what she signed herself up for, the wedding would have been better. But she knew she could charge money, and that, in my opinion, scam. That, in my opinion, is a scam. That was like one of the clear indicators to me. It was like within the first 2 years of our career. So it was like, wow, how do people get away with stuff like that? And the more we've been in it, the more we've recognized that that can happen.
It's always kind of a shock when you show up and the wedding planner actually does their job properly, because it feels like half the time, at least more than half the time, they're not doing what they're paid to do at all.
Just like kind of, well, and I think there's a difference between like standing and being present and standing and not really like making people feel bad for, like, it's like when you go to a fast food restaurant or something and they're like, what do you want? Like, and you're like, whoa, I want to not feel like I'm bothering you.
Yeah.
I want to make sure, I want to feel like when I bite into my fries, like you didn't sneeze on them before you handed them to me. Like, I want to make sure that we're like good here. Like, I'm sorry to make you work, but I really just want some French fries. Like, that's not the vibe you should get from any of your wedding vendors on your wedding day. Nope. Like, and it feels like a lot of people get to a point where they're frustrated with the industry. They've been doing it for a long time. They charge a lot of money because they've been doing it a long time and can say they have the experience, but they don't actually want to do their jobs. Like, there was another story. There was a photographer that we saw last year. He was basically the photographers. We stay busy on a wedding day. Like, it is like our whole job to do everything we can in our power to capture the essence of their wedding day. And that is staying busy, looking for opportunities to capture when what we're looking at
because sometimes they can come out of the blue. Yes. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, I missed that.
But if you just like take a look around sometimes, you see like sweet little moments between different people who aren't right in front of your face. Anyway, we stay busy, and it blows my mind when I see other vendors not staying busy. Like when they just like could be doing anything else. Right. And this photography team that we saw, it was a husband and wife duo, and they were like just kind of generally, they just stood cameras down, and then a moment would happen, and of course we watched the photographers because that's what we love to do. We love to watch how other people work,
because that's our job, and we never get to watch other people do our jobs, but sometimes we do. We're watching them, and for like example, the bride and groom did a spin into a dip during their dance, and both the photographers had their cameras down and didn't get them up in time. And I watched them look at each other like, man, what are you going to do? What the heck is that? Yeah,
what the heck is that? And then, but on their website, they're very proud of their 2 decades combined experience in the industry, like, which just means they've each been doing it for like 10 years.
Yeah, I don't like when people combine their experience. It's like 2 people with 10 years experience is not the same thing as 1 person with 20 years experience.
Nope, it's not.
It's not even close to the same thing.
It bothers me that they're like, we have this amazing amount of collective experience, and that's why you should trust us. But like, legitimate, they don't care. Weddings are easy, like quote unquote easy money for them, and they can just do what they want. And that rubs me the wrong way so hard when people get into the industry, they find out they can charge money for it, and then they get lazy. That bothers me. So in that sense, there are some vendors who are a scam in the same way that there are venues that are a scam. Like, not everyone has your best interest in mind, and I agree completely. Those people don't deserve your money.
No, they're marking up their prices from what should be zero to whatever they're charging.
Yep. And you have to be careful because those people exist, and they're super frustrating to witness.
You have to find people that care.
Yep. And we could go on a whole other tangent, but like, for people who are doing their job well, there are reasons why. They're charging what they're charging.
Like, doing weddings is harder than doing other things. Like, I can't speak for anything other than what we do, but doing weddings is harder than regular events. It's harder than family sessions.
Yeah.
It's just harder.
It's difficult for a number of reasons. And like, we also, like I said, stay busy. So there's like an element of pushing toward the end that we just don't see out of other people. Like, if your dance floor is lit, we are also lit. And if that's at hour 11, that's at hour 11 of work. Like, and that wasn't just hour 11. We got up early. We made sure our equipment was working. We like got in the car. We got there early. We got to scout, and then the direction, and then noticing, and it's just a lot of effort.
And then all the planning that goes into beforehand, and then all of the work that goes in afterhand. Afterwards. All the work that goes in afterwards.
Yeah. There are people who will scam you, but there are also people who earn every penny of what they charge you. Yeah. And I think if you value that, if you value like the pictures, if you value the video, if you value the atmosphere that a DJ can provide, then those things aren't a scam. But if you legitimately don't think you'd appreciate them, then don't invest in them, because then they wouldn't be worth the money.
Right.
But also, yeah, I think we talked a lot about the traditions. Diamond rings being a marketing ploy. Yeah,
it's true.
Agree.
Yeah.
It is. But some people love to play into the marketing ploy. So
yeah.
But yeah, they finish with someone who's getting married. All they want is the paperwork and a small party with 20 people. Do it.
Yeah.
You won't regret it.
That's the vibe right there.
Make sure that it's captured well. That's all I have to say to that. Number 16. This one's short. Elope if you aren't rich. Okay.
Yeah, fair enough. I think elope if you want to.
Yeah, I think even if you are rich, you can elope.
Yeah.
Also, if you aren't rich, you could try to have a party. We definitely were not rich. Our wedding was low budget.
Sub 10,000.
Sub probably 5,000.
Yeah, we did not spend a lot on
and
our
like
wedding.
90% of that was the photographer. And we had family bring in food, and it was
potluck
smaller,
style,
and
awesome.
we were careful about where we spent our money. But I mean, if we were to do it again today, I'd do it differently because we've already had that experience.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can have a wedding for cheap. You can also elope for cheap. You can elope for $20,000. Like, you can elope for any amount of money. Like, there are photographers who are elopement specialists, and I've seen their like starting prices, like sometimes 10 or 14,000. They scout the location for you, they officiate, they do the work, and they make sure that all you have to do is show up to get married. And for that can be expensive. Like, that price tag is more than some people's weddings.
Yeah.
So just elope if you aren't rich, I think is an interesting way of saying it, because elopements can be expensive too.
Yeah. Maybe they mean elope at the courthouse.
Maybe they do, but they didn't say that.
No.
Okay. Number 17. If you have a friend/family member marrying you, your ceremony shouldn't be their chance to test out their stand-up routine. Too much humor takes away from the seriousness of the event. Ooh, I was like,
nah.
At first I was like, I kind of see what they're saying. And then they said too much humor takes away from the seriousness of the event. And it felt like the speech that you get from the Catholic priest beforehand, who's like, this isn't about you.
From Father Uptight.
This is Jesus. And then it's like somehow about them. Like, you're like, okay, like, what happened to it being about Jesus? Like, why are you making this about you right now? Like, what about me showing up like respectfully in my black outfit quietly, like, makes you think I'm going to be disrespectful?
That's a whole topic.
But specifically, if you have a friend or family member marrying you, sometimes the joy of that is being able to have somebody who can add some humor.
I don't get people who are against having fun. Like, what's with the problem? What's with the issue with people having fun?
The seriousness of the event, I think people know the commitment that they're signing up for. I don't think we have to make it serious and scary and not them. I think you can honor who people are by being funny if they're funny.
Yep.
Like, if you're a family member and you have a really close relationship with the couple and you can speak to the humor that they have, do that. Don't feel bad about it. This hot take is dumb.
Yeah.
In my opinion. If you want a serious ceremony, maybe don't invite.
And I feel like who's marrying you will probably understand that based on who you are.
Yep. Some of the best wedding ceremonies we've seen have been people that the couple has known like well, and people who like speak to their relationship.
Yeah.
And if their relationship is more like romantic and serious and like classic, then cool. Like, that's a beautiful ceremony. But if their relationship is goofy, I would hope that if we got married from somebody that there would be some humor in there. I don't think that that would take away from the seriousness of the event at all. I think that would do us justice.
Right.
That's my take. So if you've disagreed with anything we've said, or if you have a different hot take of your own, maybe you don't have to tell us if you've disagreed with us, but if you have a hot take of your own, we'd like to hear it.
Yeah.
And absolutely. You can email us. You can email us at
theweddingjourneypodcast@gmail.com.
You can Instagram message us at
The Wedding Journey Podcast.
And that's it.
We'll see you next time.
Yeah, thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.